All right, today we're going to dive into Ecomi and a big news around the VeVe ecosystem, what it might mean for you that are holding gems and holding the Ecomi and VeVe NFTs. This is going to be a fun one, I think, that will drive into a lot of what's happening because there's some good, there's some bad. You don't want to miss this one. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back to Tech Path. Joining me again, who seems to be a stalwart from the VeVe community, and that, of course, is Mr. Kyle Willson. Great to have you back, Kyle.
Thanks, Paul. It's great to be here today.
Yeah, I love to see and watch you guys, especially the Redos on Twitter. We get a ton of Redo traffic. If you guys are new to our show, when you go out on Twitter, if you're a VeVe lover, you're probably going to see a bunch of Redos starting to appear in your Twitter feed. And Kyle is kind of the one of the antagonists of that that item. So
Yeah,
fun to watch
absolutely.
that for sure. Yeah. All right, Kyle, we gotta jump into all this, man. We've
Yeah.
got finally gems converting to cash now. What are your
Mhm.
thoughts about the latest news from Ecomi, and how do you think this is going to affect the current marketplace on VeVe?
Yeah, so from the user perspective, I believe it's positive. A lot of users on the application have been waiting for this MTL rollout for a while now, over about a year or so. So I think from that sentiment, I think people are looking at it as a win and positive. So now, as far as your NFT holdings go, that kind of may be a different story and maybe a different outlook there. So.
Yeah, I was looking at the payout details they had on their blog, and it goes into a lot of different scenarios. One, the system is going to allow you to withdraw gems for your VeVe wallet back into your bank account via fiat U.S. dollars, and then they have a whole lineup of other currencies that they are taking, but it looks like USD is going to be kind of one of the big ones. The payout feature, though, is in beta. I'm just kind of curious, do you have this now, or do you know of anybody within the VeVe community that has it?
I currently don't have that feature, but I definitely seen people in the community already, send their KYC in. So I
Yeah.
believe they do have that option, and I do believe it's getting rolled out slowly. So it is something highly anticipated and something I'm definitely looking forward to as well.
Yeah. For some of you who may be watching our channel and you're new to it and into crypto, VeVe, just to give a quick explanation of VeVe, it's essentially one of the digital collectible platforms out there that I would say is probably the premier. When you look at collectibles, VeVe is the place to go. I have a VeVe account. I do some collectibles on there. Obviously, Kyle is big into this. And the whole scenario for newbies is that Ecomi is essentially the underlying infrastructure token that is eventually was destined to become kind of the ecosystem for VeVe. And they've made a big announcement with this conversion of assets, gems, which you currently have to use in your wallets or in your app to be able to convert to cash. And that's a big deal for a lot of users because there's a ton of VeVe account holders out there that have some pretty big gem wallets right now. I'm kind of curious, Kyle, what's the biggest gem wallet you've seen, or the biggest value that you've seen from Ecomi holders out there?
Yeah, so it's hard to say. I know there's a lot of whales out there. I think the largest one was on Twitter recently. Somebody hit actually 1 million gems, and they
Wow.
were one of the very
Okay.
first people to post that and try to, make history with that. So that's one of the largest gem accounts I think I've seen thus far. So, but I bet there's a few others out there that may exceed that currently, but they maybe haven't cashed out into those gems just yet,
Yeah.
or are holding more for the long term.
Yeah, looking at the collectible space as a long-term investment opportunity. And I think a lot of people, when you look at, kind of the diversity that most people look for in their portfolio, whether you look at high risk or you look at blue chip crypto, maybe you're looking at some alternatives in the staking side or in something in DeFi. Collectibles, digital collectibles, NFTs, and what we will see in digital assets is really growing. And of course, VeVe going to be one of the big ones. As far as KYC, let's talk a little bit about this because I was looking at their blog post, and you can log into the VeVe web wallet. This is apparently only on the web, right?
Correct.
Okay. And I wonder if they're going to make this available through like the iPhone app. So I use iPhone. I don't even see the Ecomi show up in my iPhone app, even though we have guys in the studio in the crypto pit that have Android devices, and they do see that show up. So
Mhm.
apparently this is going to be web only. which will be interesting.
Yeah, yeah, and I do maybe see them rolling the mobile side out in the future, or maybe they're ironing out details with, of course, like Apple and of the sorts. So
Yeah. All right. So complete KYC. That's another thing. Obviously, any major platform is going to require KYC. And most of you have probably already gone through this with any of the other crypto asset platforms that you're using out there, just like a trading exchange, et cetera. Some of you probably are not using KYC in some cases, but with VeVe, we'll need to do that if you are going to cash out your gems. There were some things, though, that I thought were kind of on the bad side, and that is actually, I want to jump to this because this shows you all the currencies that you'll be able to get at currently, right now. So Australian, Canadian dollar, the euro, the pound, HDK, HKD, what is that? Is that the Hong Kong dollar? I think it is.
I believe so. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, USD and the New Zealand dollar. So quite a bit actually for access. And I think obviously US dollar will be the big one there. All right, so when you look at this, Kyle, is this going to change any of the strategies for you as a big VeVe collectible investor? How are you going to approach this? What is going to be your tactic?
Yeah, so from the collectible side, it is interesting. I think that currently in the situation, people have prepared for months. We had a big run up before this announcement, and people have taken profits off the table already. So
Mhm.
in terms of the collector side, I think people are actually on the fences a little bit. Should you sell when these collectibles have actually dipped down over
Yeah.
the past month or two? So I think it begs the question for a lot of collectors right now is should you even sell your collectibles to take some of that off the table since they are at a low for the MTL, or do you look at these undervalued NFTs on the app and actually try to wait for the right moment to actually pick those up for the people that are cashing out and selling collectibles? So I think it's going to create a nice window for people that have accumulated the gems to buy into those NFTs that are going to be undervalued. Either now or even when this MTL is fully launched. So I think there's a lot of good scenarios for collectors, and so it just depends on your strategy and what you want to do with your gym. So
Yeah, so you're anticipating some buying opportunities in these kind of scenarios when we see this. There'll be some people, of course, cashing out, maybe for a little bit less. Obviously, that charges. I was over here on Ecomi Wiki. We have a subscription to this pretty nice little service. But I was looking at Lady and the Tramp. This is the rare version, 635 on the floor right now. But if you look at the historical right here, floor price was up around $1,300. And this is just not 10 days ago. And now we're seeing a floor price right at the 635 mark. Do you think this is indicative of most of the collectibles on VeVe right now? Is there anything that's kind of holding or still seeing some positive growth?
the grails have potentially, but I think the main grail that I've seen on the app that has held pretty great value is the Marvel Comics #1 comic, and that one has pretty much stayed pretty steady considering the rest of most of the collectibles on VeVe have dropped, but potentially all of them have declined, in value over the past month or so, or a couple months since the all-time high. I think that app was the market cap total with comics and collectibles was
Hmm.
as high as a $2 billion market cap, and just recently it has declined back down to I think 1.1 billion. So
All right, so looking at the long-term effect here, if they do start to really roll out, beyond the beta, and we do see some pretty significant uptake here, if I'm looking at getting into VeVe today, is it a good time to buy a collectible, or do you feel like this is a kind of a wait and see moment?
yeah, yeah. If I have some money staked away, I think this is a great opportunity to get into some of those blue chips and grails on the app, especially, paying attention close to the charts and looking for a good entry point. I think it's a perfect time for somebody to get into the app for sure.
I was looking at this 2099 Spider-Man. This is one
Mhm.
that I've actually been interested. And this one seems to be, I mean, it has dropped a lot. It's down to 1250, but that had a high of
Mhm.
almost $3,000. So interesting. but not necessarily a big spike in terms of total listings. Actually, total listings down a little bit here to
Mhm.
152, down from its lowest at 129 back here in early February. So not much trading on this one right here. So would this is now I'm asking for me. Would
Yeah.
I want to go after this one at 1250? Would you give me that recommendation?
Yeah, absolutely. I think what we see with the official drops or when the actual drop happens, there's a lot of
Uh-huh.
hype around certain collectibles, Spider-Man 99, 2099 being one of those. And yeah, after a few weeks, there's the next big drop. And I think
Right.
people are eager to kind of go for the next drop. So I think
Mm,
something like that, as you pointed, the listings remaining pretty constant, but the price dropping off
yeah.
shows that that would potentially be a great buy-in opportunity for sure on those types of trends.
Good. I'm glad I'm learning the VV algorithm here of
Yeah.
understanding when to dive in and not. All right, so let's get into the bad. Obviously, still in beta. No gems to OMI just yet. This obviously is going to be a USD side of things. There are some big fees here, and we have to kind of reveal those. You need at least 1,000 gems in your account to be able to withdraw. Let me jump to the Twitter because this is kind of a little bit of a slam, I think. When you look at this, let me zoom up on this. Need 1,000 gems to withdraw, and then there's a 10% tax on this. What are your thoughts on this move?
Yeah, so this is, pretty standard among like I believe they're using the Swift to basically withdraw. And I think this is due to the front end of how you come into the app, through Apple and Google, them charging fees. So when you cash out, they're gonna have to recuperate that. As we know, companies like Fortnite and several others, or Epic Games rather, where they have kind of argued the case on that front end fees and how expensive those actually are to a platform that sells digital products. And I think the same can be argued here with VeVe, where Apple charges a premium just to get into the app. And then when you go to cash out, there's got to be some way for Ecomi VeVe to recoup some of that cost. So I think
Well,
that's what we're seeing there, the cost of the MTL as well as the actual provider from cashing out as well.
yeah, wouldn't this be on the website though? If it's on the website, would
Mhm.
you, I mean, you're obviously foregoing the scenario with the app side of things. So if that were the case, I mean, I just don't understand why they would be taxing on top. I mean, granted, sure, you're selling, but now you're going to get both a sales tax as well as a gain tax if you gain dollars on
Mhm.
that, which is kind of a bit of a double-edged sword there. I don't know. I'm still a little bit, that one's a bit of a conundrum to me. What do you think how has the temperature been on the VV crowd so far, the community?
It's a mix, because I believe some people have that same sentiment. The fees are kind of high. I think in terms of there's licensors fees, of these brands that are on the app that they have worked out a contract with VeVe and they have a fee to be on the app. So every time one of their IP is sold, then they collect some of that premium.
Right.
So I think when in terms of fees in general, there's a couple different factors to factor into that, one being MTL, the second being the licensor fees. So it is, definitely not on the fun aspect, but what I see in the future is when they do roll out the web application or what have you, I think hopefully that they'll reconsider the 10% fee. And
Yeah.
I believe I heard the founder and CEO David mention that that could, if there was savings to be had, they will pass it on or something like that. So
Mhm.
um, so I know people were a little up in arms about it at first, but I believe that once the web application comes out, that hopefully they will reconsider that.
They'll eliminate, hopefully, that will be the case. We'll see how that kind of blows in. A couple
Mhm.
of questions for you here to kind of look forward from a strategy standpoint, when we look at projects, we're always considering kind of their roadmap. What are some of the things they're going to be releasing? What are the potentials for that? Because this is usually where you can buy, projects, especially Ecomi, at the right time before
Mhm.
something major happens and we see big price pumps on these tokens. How long do you think before we would see everybody capable of doing this today in whether it's in the app or in the web? Do you think we're 30 days out, 60 days? What are your thoughts?
Well, in terms of the payout feature, that hopefully will be rolled out, quarter 3 or this year in general. So obviously highly anticipated, and I think as they keep rolling out updates to us, we'll get hopefully a little bit more clarity as to when that will roll out to everybody. And I do believe that they will roll that out first before the OMI utility program, which
Yeah.
is another part of the roadmap that's coming down the line as well.
Yeah. Do you feel like this phased rollout is kind of protecting VeVe from a massive run for the door on cashing out on their gems?
Yeah, it could be possible, and we've noticed the growth of users on the app as well, so that's a good point to note. But also, it is in beta testing, so
Yeah.
everybody hitting, KYC and everything all at once, I think that definitely would cause somewhat of an app issue or maybe a provider issue there as well. But yeah, I think that possibly be potentially, everybody moving their gems out the door off the app. I think maybe that
Yeah.
might be a consideration as well. So.
Yeah, okay, so with that being the case, mobile app is going to kind of be the next big achievement for VeVe in general. Do you think that's something we'll see this year, transitioning away from the web app?
Oh, or you mean vice versa, the mobile
Yeah,
to web? Yeah,
yeah.
I think that that will be a big win, for them, the company, and for users as well, because, users paying, from different countries as well, they get, I believe the conversion rate, from their currency to gems is quite different. I think,
Hmm.
in Britain, they get charged, quite a bit higher premium, just to purchase in-app. So I think once the web app comes out, I think users are going to be quite happy as well as the company. So I think as far as that goes, it's going to be a win-win feature. And I believe that hopefully they'll come out with it this year. I haven't heard too much from them on that, but that is something I'm highly anticipating as well.
Yeah. What about the scenario of actually gems to OMI, the token,
Mm.
as opposed to maybe converting to USD or another fiat currency? Do you think that's going to be a deal that we'll see this year?
I would. I think that the gyms to Omi, I don't think they're going to roll that out ever on that end. I
Really?
believe is what they
Okay.
said. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's going to be NFT to Omi, so you'll be able to sell
Ah,
your NFTs into Omi. So I believe that feature will be a part of the Omi utility program, and I believe they're rolling that out in phase 2 or 3. As far as those phases go on the OMI utility program. So they do have 3 different phases, I believe, 3 or 4 different phases
mhm.
rolling the OMI utility program out. So we will that feature, as you say, that one's going to be highly anticipated, as you can definitely these collectibles hold value or even go up in value to sell into OMI and get OMI, at the current market price. So I think that
Yeah.
will definitely be huge. Yeah.
Yeah. When you look at the roadmap and you see all the things that Vivi's trying to do in general, Ecomi in general, they're hitting on a lot of the things. And in this particular case, they actually early delivered on kind of the transition because this is kind of, I guess, phase one of the whole process. With that being the
Mm.
case, I'm wondering why what are your thoughts on why they rolled this out as opposed to staking first or some of the other features that they have on their roadmap?
Yeah, I think this one was the users, had been anticipating this one
Pressure.
much more and kind of put a demand on them to have that cash out feature. Other platforms, I believe, already rolled out theirs. So this one, I think probably got bumped up on their priority list to get this done first. And I believe that's why. So.
All right, I was looking at phases one and two of the OMI utility. Could that be moved earlier? Currently, phase one has market transactions in Q3 and has store purchases in Q4. What are your thoughts on them hitting those timelines, or do you think we might see some early movement in those releases as well?
I'm hoping to see early releases, but I think it all is going to come down to when they can fully roll out both MTL and fully roll out the Immutable X
Yeah.
rollout as well, where hopefully we'll see some kind of interoperability features on some of those IPs. But I think they're going to really dial those two in first and prioritize those. So, I'm hoping that they release that OMI utility program and we'll be able to buy and sell with the OMI token on the app. So
Yeah.
as far as you will have to stake some OMI to participate in that OMI utility program. So
I want to get into a couple of questions on just digital collectibles, getting because you've been doing this for a while. I think a lot of our viewers maybe are new into digital collectibles and
Mhm.
understanding kind of the aspect behind that. But also, I want to touch on the price scenario of Ecomi, and I'm going to jump to our charts before we jump on that topic. But jump to our charts and just quickly take a look because we've been tracking OMI for a bit of a while. We looked at this back in early January. We saw a sentiment score of 7092, and then we saw a little bit of an AMP score that started to surface that was higher. And then of course we had a nice run up on OMI. And I guess from that point, what do we have on to that top right there? So it was about a 60% run in the token. Fell a little bit. We saw a little bit of sideways action, and then this fall off right here, which is really kind of was indicated in our CPI, which is our crypto power index. And this was back on February 3rd when we started to see that downward movement of 7302 and a current AMP score of 6952. And then we just pulled another score this week, and this one is showcasing a little bit of a flat movement potential. Do you think, even with this news, I kind of anticipated that we might see a bigger response. Now, granted, we've got a lot of things happening on the global stage right now. Bitcoin
Mhm.
looked like it was crashing to the floor, rebounded quickly. A lot of the altcoins and various cryptocurrencies in general, we started to see some recovery here. How do you think this plays out for OMI in terms of price at all? Do you think we're going to continue to see a little bit of an upside to this, or do you think we'll see some sideways action for a while?
I think we'll see a little bit of consolidation as, investors are worried a little bit about, like, as you say, kind of the global, things going on in the world and the overall macro. So I think, sentiment wise, I believe with Bitcoin, as you say, kind of being down somewhat and the economy in general, the Fed, being somewhat hawkish as far as their current meetings. So I think that all definitely plays into the token. And, I think closer we get to the OMI utility program, I think that's when we'll start to really see some, bigger movements. So I think currently it's probably going to be a hold pattern and consolidation in this
Yeah,
short term.
yeah. I think for a lot of people, when they look at altcoins or projects like OMI, one thing you're always kind of considering is this going to see a 2x, a 3x, a 5x pump?
Mhm.
And VeVe has to do a lot of things. The marketplace itself has got a lot of items in their roadmap that potentially could achieve. It is a big news item, even though it is beta. There are a little bit of some knocks on it in terms of the way it's going to be use case. But for those who are holding a significant amount of gems and are okay with the tax percentage, this is a big win for both VeVe
Mhm.
and the Ecomi community. So I think that's a good benefit. Kyle, I want to get into tips you would give a new collectible investor. And these are people
Mhm.
that we get a lot of people, hitting us on the DMs. We get a lot of people hit me up on Twitter, comments here on YouTube about getting into digital collectibles and NFTs in general. Strategy wise, right now, what does a new investor have to look for in these NFT marketplaces like a VeVe that gives them indicators that this is a good time to go in? Because if you look at traditional crypto, everybody kind of knows you buy Bitcoin when it's sliding down right now in the 30s. Get as much as you can in the low, if we get a mid 30, people are buying in. What about NFTs and VeVe marketplaces?
Yeah, it's similar strategy there. We looked at the charts earlier where, some of those bigger, superheroes or brands are maybe they slid down in the past, month or two. And those are always good opportunities to get into. And If I was telling a new investor or somebody new getting into, NFTs, like, or participating in VeVe, I would tell them to look into those premium, first appearance type of characters or comics, and kind of doing a little bit of research on that before you get in, of course. And yeah, taking a look at some of those premium collectibles and seeing what those price movements are, and utilizing a tool like we did earlier with the Ecomi
Hmm.
wiki, so you can really dive in to see what the overall macro is going on. And like we mentioned earlier, a lot of times the current drops get really hyped up, and a lot of people FOMO into those. But the weeks following, people like to either take profits or move on to the next shiny object. So
Yeah.
these previous drops are always good collectibles to look at, but also participating always in the new drops, because
Yeah.
you can't make the shots that you don't take. So
Yeah, for sure. I wanted to look at Black Panther. This is the secret rare version. So in a scenario like this where you have a fairly new drop, and it's showing it, in terms of price, you've got, gosh, man, look at that thing. So 146, it kind of rose in terms of total listings, and it seems to be somewhat consistent. But we've had a little bit of a floor movement. We had a big spike and then downward, and now it's rising again. In
mhm.
this kind of play, what am I looking for? This is kind of like technical analysis for VeVe. What am I
Yes,
looking
yeah.
for on that particular collectible that is going to indicate a buy signal for if I wanted to go after that Black Panther?
Yeah, what I'm gonna see is a list, what I call a listing squeeze, where the listings are going down, and
Hmm.
or I should inverse squeeze, where listings go down gradually and the price gradually starts increasing. I think when you see
Ah,
that, that's when collectors are going to start coming into the app, or already are on the app, and maybe just haven't picked up that collectible yet, but they really want it. And Black Panther being one of the more popular superheroes, especially in today's time. So something like that would be a perfect example of people slowly getting into that NFT or collectible and keeping it in their showroom. And we in the community like to say that some of those collectibles are forever collectibles, then they aren't
yeah.
leaving our vaults. So that one would be a great example.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of people, if you're investing in tokenized art, we've seen that on projects like Masterworks. There's a lot happening in the collectible space, and we've seen it in the comic side where I mean some of these comics are absolutely the physical comics are absolutely skyrocketing in
Mm.
value, and they truly are just like cash in a lot of collectors' eyes, and really on the open market. Do you
Mhm.
see the VV collectibles getting to that level of consistency that we've seen in art and traditional collectible comics in the future?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think that's exactly going to be the case. I think since they are kind of a new form of collectible, we will obviously experience a little volatility. But as time goes on, mainstream and collectors move in, and traditional collectors get into the apps like VeVe, then I think, yes, I think they will perform very, very similar, or even better in some cases. Whereas the younger generations are fully accepting digital as a form of collecting, and really, people my age as well, with growing up with, Pokemon, both digital and physical. I think it's just, it's just an easy way to adopt the next form of collecting, and VeVe has been absolutely on top of it. And what we've seen from VeVe is the digital market actually driving the physical markets, like
Yeah.
the comic you see behind me as well. So we've
Hmm.
seen, price increases and appreciation on comics like that.
Yeah, for sure. Kyle Wilson, always great to have you on. I love to dive into to the VB side of things, especially as some of these advancements start rolling out on the project. We'll definitely keep you on speed dial for new up and coming news from Ecomi and VB. So great having you back.
Thanks, Paul. It was great to be here, and thanks for having me on again.
You bet. All right, so you guys are listening in over on the podcast right now. Kudos to you, man. You're getting in on some of the best content out there when it comes to the blockchain, the crypto sphere, and of course, collectibles and NFTs, which we believe are going to be one of the next phases of really where investment is going. So, one of the things you got to do right now is jump off of the podcast app. I know it's nice and cozy in there right now, but jump over to YouTube, get in here, subscribe to the channel, and like a few videos, because this is going to be the place where you'll see our technical analysis, the charts that Kyle and I were just going over, showing NFT valuation within these marketplaces. You're only going to see that on the visual side of things. So jump into the YouTube channel, give us some kudos, and we always love your comments below, so make sure to leave those. You want to reach me, it's out on Twitter, @Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.